Hello, everyone, and welcome to this month's update covering June 2024. We have a lot of exciting things to share today. We'll be running through a similar format as always, going through marketing, business, people ops, our open source team, ecosystem, and tech updates as well, and then wrapping up with a very quick Q&A. So we'll kick off with some of our growth updates. And we received 82 video submissions again this month, which was really exciting. Same as last month. These were focused on the Shardeum is Borderless program. So this, program is focused on creating videos in different regional languages so Shardeum can continue to grow around the world. I think it's really exciting to see us reaching more people in blogs to audio formats. So that way, if you prefer to listen to things, we've got you. If you're more of a reader, we've got you there too. So that way is another way to digest all of the content. On the proof of community side, we had 10 events in 10 cities across 5 countries. So that was Nigeria, Vietnam, Philippines, Malaysia, and Kenya, with over 1,200 participants. So thank you to everyone who joined us at one of those proof of community meetups. I know the teams love to see you, and we really appreciate our local organizers. So we also had a side event at GM Vietnam with over 150 participants. On the social and community side of things, we started a new Super Shardian task focused on a thread on X. We have around 164 submissions in 30 languages. So thanks again to everyone there. And we've completed 15 quizzes on Build Web3 Twitter account and distributed $750 USDT in rewards. So another exciting update there. We'll go over to the US and Europe marketing updates. We just got back from Proof of Talk. We are also participated at ECC. We saw an all-time high in visits to the website from the United States, which was great, tied to the launch of Incentivized Testnet, Bug Bounty, our participation in all of these events, and really as part of an effort to build recognition and traction in these still slightly newer regions for us at Shardeum. We are also pushed really hard on our fantastic Bug Bounty program, and we're able to get some great press coverage around that. We'll go over to the metrics, some of the metrics next. Those were focused on, we saw an increase in website traffic by 1,490%, which are the kind of numbers that I definitely like to see. We saw a very marked increase in blog traffic as well. So, we'll continue to create and revamp those educational resources across the website. And we saw just a general increase across the board. We hosted slightly fewer proof of community events, but did participate in some of those larger conferences. So we are still activating in person around the world as well. Coming soon, we also are hosting a side event at Malaysia Blockchain Week. So that is coming up. If you're in the area, please do join us there. We will be launching relatively soon the Atomium Sage 2 campaign. And then we also are working on a book that leverages the Shardosaurs, those creatures we created, to help explain scalability, because there's a lot of ways to scale, and we feel like our method is pretty special. So now I'm going to hand it over to Shahzad.
Thank you very much, Kelsey. Welcome everyone to our June updates. It's a pleasure to be here and talk about some of the major events that we've been partaking on. So taking on to Atomium. Atomium was our incentivized testnet, which we launched, and the ITN really took off. We had 480,000 users join us in the first week. That was phenomenal. Thank you again for the community to be there and to participate. This was an extremely exciting moment for us to see that go live. We're now getting ready for the stage 2 of Tomium, and that should be coming in shortly. With that, we also launched a 700,000 bug bounty program, and Chris Chabot is going to talk about that more in detail soon. So that was something very, very exciting that came about. We are also finalizing the infrastructure for our launch partners as we get to mainnet. A lot of activity going on at that end, and looking forward to get all of that finalized. We are also finalizing centralized exchanges for our listing process. We already have 2 finalized and more to come. There'll be press releases around that. So please look forward to that as we start announcing that very, very soon. We were there at ETHCC. We had a wonderful event, met a lot of our VCs as well as projects and collaborators. Thank you very much for taking the time to meet the team there. Very hectic event, but extremely enjoyable. And very, very productive. So that was something very, very good we had. As I mentioned, Atomium Stage 2 is coming in very shortly. And we are also going to be participating in most of the events in Asia later this year. So there is WebEx, there is Korea Blockchain Week, there is DevCon in Thailand, there is Singapore 2049, and other events as we go forward. And last but not the least, ETH India. So these are things which are on our calendar as we get closer and closer to mainnet. So looking forward to meeting, our team, our community, and our groups there. With that, I'm going to hand this to Jeremy, who's our head of people's operations.
Thank you, Shahzad. Looking forward to giving you guys a very quick update here. We've added a few new team members over the past month since we last met with everyone here. Super excited to see what they do here. And more importantly, over the last few months, we've discussed how we're going to be launching some new roles or opening up some new roles when we get a little bit closer to our mainnet, and excited to announce these 3 roles that we've just opened up over the last week. Solution engineer, listing manager, and community manager. Both the listing manager and solution engineer will be really critical in us getting these partners live, so that we have the right amount of liquidity in place when we get launched. So please send all your best and finest referrals to us at people@shardeum.org, and we look forward to seeing what's out there. Thank you. Off to you, Chris.
Thank you, Jeremy. So we have some recent changes here where we've merged some teams into developer relations. So in this update, we will cover a number of different perspectives. One of them is open source. The other one is working with our third parties and ecosystem and infrastructure that we're partnering with to make Shardeum the massive success that it's going to be. One of those things that we've been working on that Shahzad touched on is the bug bounty. Now, obviously, being an L1 blockchain, security is our number one priority above everything else that we do. And one of the things that happens is that if you are the person that created the code that builds a product, you might not be the best person to also detect all the mistakes that might have snuck in there, because those assumptions were the same assumptions that you used when you wrote it. So in response to that, to make sure that we're going to be the best and most secure blockchain possible, is a bug bounty. And a bug bounty is a little bit like a treasure hunt where external white hat hackers can go for a source code, product, every part of how it works. And if they find an issue, they can report it to Immunify, and they get part of that $700,000 reward. So obviously that is a large reward pool, and people are incredibly excited about engaging in this. We've seen fantastic engagement already where we currently have, I think it is now 12 valid issues found. 4 of those are critical. The rest are what we call info or medium level, where it doesn't necessarily break things, but there's still things that we should do better at. But we did find really good results there. We got like almost 16 new issues in the queue of things that we're reviewing. Basically, we're only 2 weeks in, and people are incredibly excited to work with us. Part of that is because this is such a unique solution. We're not based on any previous code. It's a completely new way of doing things. So people are enjoying engaging with us. Obviously, that engagement for all of us means we're going to have that much better of a blockchain. As we're getting closer to launch, there are a number of things that we have to do to cross the I's and dot the I's and cross the T's. Just making sure I got that right there. One of those things is that we want to make sure that we're monitoring everything that happens with SHM and the network very closely. To do that, we need to pull in a whole bunch of data from all kinds of sources. Some, of course, are the network, others are exchanges. We also want to track trading velocities and everything else that could be going on, collect it in one central data source, and put a dashboard around it that we're building with a BI tool so we can closely track all these things real time. Shardeum University 2.0 is going to be very exciting. There's going to be a lot of new contract writing tools in there. One of our team members is working hard with one of our partners to set up hard hat environments so you can do all of that online, get a gratification at the end of it. We are working with partnerships for launch. These are critical, of course, because there are JSON RPC servers that we are hosting, but as a decentralized solution, you don't want to depend on just one organization. So we're working with a number of vendors that they will host Web3-based JSON RPC solutions as well. Likewise, we're also talking to vendors for explorers and other tools. We, of course, talk to our community members as well. There's EFCC in Brussels in Belgium, very large event here in Europe. We had representations from marketing, business development, as well as the engineering developer relations teams. We spoke about the bug bounties and everything else that's going to the mainnet launch. Met a lot of wonderful people there. We have been expanding our test suites extensively as well, to make sure that that gateway to the rest of the world from our network, the JSON RPC server, is as compliant and stable and well-functioning as possible. And of course, we've been doing our weekly build in public videos. We are publishing our tutorials for how to engage and contribute to the source code. And I think that our total number of views for the build in public videos now crossed over 1.5K. The live streams that we're doing on Discord have more than 20 people per episode, per stream that we're doing attending. We have an open source channel on Discord, and I remember it like yesterday. It really feels like yesterday. We're so excited that we had just launched that and there were 20 people there. Now we've got 2,000 people in there. So this is like growing like gangbusters. It's crazy. One of the things that we've been working on as well was a contributor of the month for GitHub. We want to recognize everyone that contributes to Shardeum and give them top perks. And part of that is that we will have shout outs for all the wonderful contributions that you've done, and we'll give you something that you can show off as well next to the tweets and blog posts that we'll be publishing. So with that, it's over to you, Omar.
All right, thanks, Chris. All right, so over the past month, we've had some really great developments on the tech side. So, as you know, we launched the Ethereum Stage 1, where people are able to start doing activities to receive future Shardeum tokens. And one of the other things that we've done on the tech side is we've had to go back and look at how our proof of quorum algorithm works for large shards. So, the one that we had been working on, we were running into some issues with that. And so we had to, backtrack and, look at a different approach to doing it. And we're now using a new algorithm which we refer to as proof of quorum optimistic. And this has worked out much better, and it provides a complete receipt that's signed by a supermajority of the nodes in our execution shard. Another optimization that we've done is related to how the shards communicate with each other when they're bringing the data together. So we have a new algorithm, which was actually conceived of by Andrew. It's called fast aggregated corresponding tell, FACT for short. So that it's a really neat algorithm that has really optimized the way the amount of messages and the number of messages or the number of times a node has to send a message. So we're really excited about that improvement. There's also been a lot of other smaller fixes and improvements to things like how the nodes rotate in and out of the network. We've also been running our bug bounty program, and that's ongoing. And we're getting fixes and improvements from that as well. And then we're continuing to develop additional tools and ways to diagnose the network. We've made a lot of great changes to our internal network monitoring tool, so that allows us to see or have a much better view now into what's going on within the network. And going forward, we're getting ready to launch Atomium Stage 2, where the community members will be able to actively participate by running their own nodes. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mark and Andrew for the roadmap.
Thank you. Thanks, Omar. Yeah, so for the roadmap, I think I said this last time, we're kind of getting into an interesting point in the project where we don't have a lot of large feature scope work to do. It's more bug fixes and small things. So the roadmap is becoming much smaller and potentially less interesting, as a huge amount of our effort is on security, bug fixes, responding to incentivized testnet and bug bounty issues. But that's a good thing for this point in the project. Also, the bug bounty, I just wanted to say the bug bounty and incentivized testnet has been really huge for us to identify issues, identify where we need to optimize aspects of the code, and then also we've had a huge amount of participation. I didn't come prepared with the exact numbers, but I think based on memory, and maybe someone in the Q&A will have the exact numbers, we had something like around 1 million transactions during phase 1, if my memory serves me right, which was a lot more than I was expecting. It's been really great to see all that participation from the community. And then a lot of our work right now has been on preparing for and assisting different partners and external developers with things such as RPC server, documentation for how to set up different components, starting to work with external contributors and things like that, in addition to our large variety of bug fixes and security improvements. So I'll let Andrew take it from here.
Got it. Thanks, Mark. So yeah, I just want to go over a few notes. I know everyone's been saying it, but yeah, I just wanted to thank people for participating in the bug bounty program. That's been really awesome to see, and I'm excited how well that's run. I didn't have anything to do with the running of it, but it looks great. And also wanted to thank people that participated in the ITN, because that's really valuable data for us and tests our network. And in phase 2 when we have community validators running on that. Then as far as things we're working on code-wise, Mark addressed some of that, and it's just like kind of is broken down into some different categories where there were a few pre-mainnet functional changes. They were also on Omar's slide about the consensus update and corresponding tell. But then there's also been critical effort going into code hardening. So we've got that from both like proactively from just lists we had in our to-do lists and have now, been getting to that. I mean, that sort of thing's gone on for a long time, but now there's, I guess, more of our time is spent on it as we wrap up. And then additional code hardening from things we like discover from the bug bounty and realize, okay, hey, we can learn from this and apply it in some other ways as well. And then one other category of work that's been really important is just solving stability issues. So we're running and restarting like cloud networks all the time and running other like local tests on big cloud servers or home labs and stuff. And basically the higher quality and more stable things get, the harder it is to repro any kind of issue. So it's like, maybe now it only happens if there's hundreds of nodes and rotation and you send tens of thousands of transactions to, create the problem. But then you can work to try and find like a smaller repro case, hopefully to make your debug fix loop go a little faster. But that's just kind of part of our day-to-day operations is to find and fix these. And then when things look good, increase the difficulty of our tests and see what new happens. So yeah, that's pretty much it for my updates.
All right, we'll move on to the Q&A.
Great. I think the team is sourcing some questions right now, and we have our first one coming in, and they ask, is there any timeline for Atomium Stage 2?
I think that is close. I do not have the exact date yet on that.
Great. So I think, coming up, you guys, I think, don't see, of course, a lot of the behind the scenes of everyone working very diligently to get this across the finish line and get to Stage 2. So I promise we are as excited as you all are. So another question we have coming in is, any critical issues in bug bounty, that the white hat hackers have found, does that mean a delay in Stage 2 launch? That's probably best suited for Chris.
So we have a dedicated security team, which is really awesome in tackling these. And they are on top of this like you would not believe it. So most of these issues are being tackled as we speak, and it doesn't delay the main development towards phase 2. The other thing that's interesting to note is that because phase 2 still uses the SHM that is distributed by the faucet and not bought with real money, some of these security issues are not as critical yet. They are obviously incredibly critical for the mainnet launch when everything gets real. But right now, if someone can maybe do something naughty on the network, we can survive it. It's fine. So if anything, phase 2 was a learning experience for us. All the fixes that we can get in there are going in there. And if anything breaks, that means that we learned a great lesson and we won't break in mainnet. So kick the tires, break the axles, see what happens. Highly encouraged.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. Go ahead.
Wanted to add in real quick, like for preparing for phase 2, like we are in the phase now where we're internally starting networks that this could be our release candidate, and we're testing it hard and kind of taking that, day at a time. So
the reason why people are careful to commit is that you don't know when you've solved the issue completely and you're like, oh my goodness, it is now running. We are at the stage where that could happen any day now. So that's why Mark said, hey, it's close, because yeah, we can't pick the exact date where it happens, but we also know that it's not going to take forever. Like, the anticipation is building.
It really is. And we have another question sort of focused on timeline, and that is, when will airdrop phase 1 reward list go live? Is there any light that we can shed on that? Maybe.
I don't.
I think that the people that know that are not in this call. I suspect that to be the case.
Yeah, so we'll look at providing an update to the community on this one, async. And let's see if there are any other questions. Team, is there anything else that came up, or shall we move on to the POAP piece next? Yeah, it looks like that just about covers it. Are there any last remarks or points before we move on to the final phase?
So just, wanted to, tell the community that, we really appreciate you guys being patient and, keeping up with us. What we're building is really hard, but we have a really dedicated and committed team to doing this. And, you can count on us, being here to the end to deliver what we promised you. And, it's what we're building is really hard. It's not something that, we're just taking existing code from another project and tweaking it here and there. This is completely brand new and different. I think the key difference that everybody will notice is that on the Shardeum network, the transaction fees will remain constant and low throughout, even as the network gets popular. Typically with most networks, the prices are either extremely low or they get extremely high. And it's basically like a sudden hockey stick jump. And that's because there's, some limited capacity on which those networks can handle. And as you approach that capacity, the price has to just skyrocket. We've designed Shardeum from the ground up so that we can add more nodes to the network and increase the transaction throughput. So if we hit our capacity, all we have to do is add more nodes, and we're now able to process more transactions per second instead of having to go back to the drawing board and figure out how are we going to re-architect the network to handle more transactions. So really appreciate the community sticking with us, and believe me, we're working really hard, and we're making steady progress, and we'll get there. So thanks a lot, everyone.
Awesome. Thanks for that update, Omar. Yeah, it's a really exciting time for us over here. And thank you for everyone who joined in and asked some questions. I think the final piece here is for the POAP. So the claiming of the POAP will take a little bit of time, but you can scan here to whitelist your address by filling out the form, and we will get that over to you as soon as we can. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining, and the whole team that you can't see, behind Shardeum as well. There's so many people working diligently to make this all happen for us in the community. So thank you all. See you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.